Good evening. I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome you and thank you so much for coming out during this special time in order to learn more about having a wonderful relationship. Now, before we start tonight's evening, and in memorial of what happened in Israel, I would like to call Linda Rahman and her sister to please come and share a few words about their dear friend Ari Fuld. He was tragically murdered this morning while eating his breakfast in Israel. He is a father of 4, and we'd like to take the opportunity
Good evening. I had the privilege, and my sister had the privilege of learning in SAR, Salanter Akiba Riverdale Academy, Yeshiva with Ari Fuld, Zichrono Livracha. His father, also a really amazing man, Rabbi Yonah Fuld, was my principal. Ari Fuld was a son, a husband, a father of 4, a previous sergeant in the elite paratrooper unit in the IDF Reserve. He was a member of the Efrat Emergency Squad, and he was an assistant director of Standing Together, an organization that supports IDF soldiers. He was a 4th level black belt in karate. He was an American US citizen, an American patriot, an outspoken Zionist, a passionate defender of humanity, of the truth about the Jewish people, and the truth about Israel. He was actually soon to launch a new Israel advocacy website that spoke the truth about Israel and the Jewish people in English. He might have been speaking to us in the coming months, but this morning, he was ruthlessly, cowardly, and brutally murdered, and tonight, he was buried in Eretz Israel. Today, America grieves, and the entire people of Israel are pained and saddened by the shocking murder of our fellow hero, my former schoolmate and Jewish brother, Ari Fuld. Ari Fuld was truly a unique soul who graced us for a short time in this life. He had a larger-than-life approach in which his actions matched his words. He valued his family, he valued teaching Torah, supporting Israel, advocating for IDF soldiers, defending and protecting the Jewish people, and dispelling the truth about Israel and our nation. No one can defend their lie if Ari Fuld was around. When Ari spoke, you can feel it. It was the truth because he spoke and fought from the heart and soul. Ari Fuld continued to do the Israel Reserve duty, even when by age he was no longer required to do so. His father, when he gave his speech today at the funeral, said when he got the papers that released him from his duty, he ripped them up. Even in his last moments on this earth, despite having attained critical stab wounds, he fought with all his might and succeeded in running after, jumping over a fence, and shooting the Palestinian, all to prevent him from harming other surrounding fellow Jews before he collapsed and succumbed to his injuries. His brother said there was no more blood in his body when he ran, and that it was his neshama that was really running. Ari means lion. Ari Fuld was a warrior who stood for the narrative of truth, the truth about humanity, about Israel and the Jewish nation. Facebook tried multiple times to shut down his voice of truth. They shut down his professional page, and then they shut down his personal page. And he had to go through various means to reactivate it. Ari the lion did not lay low. He continued to passionately fight to expose the truth. In Yiddish, it has been said, "Nicht gestorben, weil unsterblich," literally means not dead because undying. Our cause of Zionism and the truth about our nation, our people, is too great a cause to rest on one great man's shoulder although he did a great job while he was with us. Our enemies thought the truth would be buried with Arifol's murder, but actually, his death makes clear the truth and highlights our need to speak up for our nation and for the truth. As Arifol's close friend and colleague, Avi Abelo, expressed at the Kotel this morning, he said, quote, "Don't be afraid to say the truth, that our enemies are evil. Don't be afraid of politically correct thinking. Don't be afraid to say terrorists should be killed and should not be allowed to watch television and get their doctorates while in prison. Don't be afraid to say that the Palestinian Authority is a PLO that are still terrorists today," unquote. We as Jews must all strive to be an Arifol, so that the truth about Israel and our Jewish nation is spoken and known. So Arifol's voice continues to be heard and his death silences our enemies. May his family, friends, and all who mourn this great man be comforted by memories of his legacy, his honor, and his heroism in his quest for defending the truth about Israel and our people. May we only hear good news in the coming year. Fatima Tov.
Thank you, Fanny. And I'm sure that Ari Zichrono Livracha accomplished in his life what so many of us endeavor to do, and may he truly be a Melitz Yosher, and may his family and all of Israel know of no such sorrow again. I'd also like to dedicate tonight's learning to two people that are very close to those sitting over here tonight, who need a refuah shlema, Tamar Bat Rachel and Daniel Ben Esther. And now, good evening. I'm not going to thank you for coming. I'm not going to crown you for coming. I'm going to say instead, Mazal Tov. Why Mazal Tov? If you're single and in a relationship, or wanting to be in a relationship, or if you're married for many, many years, I want you to think of that picture that might be in your bedroom, or might be in on your mantelpiece, or might be on top of your fireplace, of you and your boyfriend, husband of many, many years, and look at that picture for a moment. And if you close your eyes and think of that picture for a moment, you just might remember really amazing moments standing under the chuppah, perhaps on a honeymoon in Tahiti, or maybe just in the Caribbean, but some really, really special moments. And then life sets in, and we get busy, and we get distant, and we get a little bit estranged, and then we come back again, and then we go far again. And then sometimes you say, wow, first it was the bills, then it was the kids, now it's a teenager, now wherever you are in life, you say, what happened to our relationship? Time for date night, time to get away, time to do something. And then, slowly but surely, life sets in again, and you have to remember. Why do I say Mazal Tov? Because tonight, I don't know if you know, we were all proposed to just a couple of days ago. Right before Rosh Hashanah, our husband, the king, Hashem Melech Malchei Hamlachim, came to us and said, will you marry me? And we thought, and we came to the bima the next morning, and loudly we proclaimed to the shofar, yes, I am yours. And that sounds really, really exciting. But there's no 6-month engagement. There's not even a 2-month engagement. So Ashley, if you could do it in 10 days, you'll be okay. And suddenly, tomorrow night, no, 2 nights, on Yom Kippur, he actually stood in white under the chuppah with our beloved, with our husband, with the one that wants us more than anything. If that's not enough, as you know, many circled after the wedding, the Sheva Brachot. We march now to 7 exciting days. Sukkot, the days are starting. We're celebrating, we're partying, we're hanging out. And then life starts. What better way, my friends, to get ready for this year of life, and who knows what will happen. But there's not one person sitting here that doesn't have a little bit of a laundry bag on their back tonight. If you don't have it today, you are blessed. Maybe you had it a few weeks ago. What better way to get ready than by tapping into this very, very holy energy of right before our communal wedding with Hashem, and taking from there some insight, some bracha, some power for our relationships throughout the year. It takes two to tango. It's not always him, it's sometimes us as well. And so tonight I am delighted, thanks to mikvah.org and the Jewish Women's Circle, to present to you our speaker, who is an illustrious speaker, who many of you may have read her works and not known that she has written them. She is the editor of the jewishwoman.org, which is a very popular online magazine, part of Chabad.org. She is the author of The Feminine Soul and Tending the Garden. She also does something which I particularly love, though I don't know the name. She has a short clip on the Parsha every week. What is it called? I'm going to do a little, what is the name to it, no? What do you call your little Parsha? Anyway, she has like a 5-minute or 3-minute incredible good thought from the Parsha every week online. You can watch her live. It's fun to watch and remember what she says. But most of all, she carries with her loads of experience, professionalism, a head and a heart. And so I am delighted to welcome Chana Wisberg here tonight. In the second year that we are having the Jewish Women's Circle meeting. Before I do that, I know some of you have some outlines. Mushki has more in the back. And you're welcome to just follow along. You don't need to. I also want to thank somebody here tonight who has taken this opportunity, like she has before, and she is giving very, very generously a free entrance to anybody that does not use on a monthly basis a mikveh in Great Neck, both the Great Neck Synagogue mikveh and the, what's the name of the other one? Thank you, right, Mikveh Moshe, and they're right over here. And afterwards, she's going to have somebody say a couple of words about it. Without further ado, let's shut our cell phones, take ourselves away from everything going on in our houses for the next 40 minutes or so, and listen to Chana Wisberg. Thank you.
Wow, this is a great turnout. This is amazing and such a busy time. Thank you all for coming. There was a mother who was walking with her little daughter. And the little girl saw a candy on the floor. And she tries to pick it up and put it in her mouth. And her mother says, no, don't do that. And she says, why not? And her mother says, it's got germs. You can't put it in your mouth. And she looks at her mother with total awe. And she says, wow. How did you know that? And her mother's thinking, and she says, she's thinking everyone knows that, but she says to her, I learned it in mommy's school. So the little girl thinks about that, and they walk a little further together, and after a minute or two, the girl turns to her mommy and she says, now I understand. If you flunk the mommy school, that's when you gotta be the daddy. We women do lots of stuff, and a lot of the parts of the things that we do is keeping our relationship together. And so much of the relationship is dependent on us and our wisdom. And marriage is not easy. Relationships aren't easy. Some of the most bestsellers out there are how to keep a relationship alive. When men are from Mars, women are from Venus, how do Mars and Venus really come together and really survive and thrive? So I want to go back to the very, very pre-beginning, before the very beginning of the world even. There was only one thing, and that was God. God and nothing else. The singular being, all-encompassing. There was no time, no space, nothing, just God. And then God had a desire. He had a desire to have a relationship with us, human beings. So he created this world just in order to have this relationship with us. When we are self-absorbed, involved only in ourselves, thinking only about ourselves, when we have no room for another in our lives, we are in that pre-creation mode. When we are ready to open ourselves up to another, to share ourselves with another, to look another in the eye and understand what they want, to be a part of someone else's life, to open our hearts and souls to another, only then are we actually alive after creation. We're in a after creation mode, alive and real. The greatest experience in Judaism was in the temple, in the Beit HaMikdash, in the part where we actually heard God's voice. Anyone know where it came from? From between the Kruvim, which was two angelic, masculine and feminine beings looking at each other. When we are allowing ourselves to look into the eyes of another, to face another, to actually experience what someone else is experiencing, that's when we have the highest and greatest and most godly experience possible. That's when we hear the voice of God. When we allow another into our hearts, into our space, that's when we can experience the divine. But this is all really nice and well. What happens in real life? So what I want you to do is I want you to write down, or think it. It's okay, that's fine. You can just think it. What are 4 greatest disconnects in a relationship? What do men say about women? What do women say about men that's breaking and ripping apart the relationship? And I'm going to go through some of the disconnects according to what research was done. So let's think for a sec. What do women have against men in terms of how they're not nurturing or developing the relationship? Not expressive. Not listening, you got it. Insensitive. Anything else? Huh? Too busy. Too busy for us. Be good. These are all great ones. What do men say about women? Usually when I have like a mixed crowd, the men are not saying anything at this point. They're looking over their shoulders at their wife thinking, I'm going to get killed if I say a word. But what do men think about women?
Too emotional.
Too emotional? Controlling?
Not logical.
Not logical?
Complaining too much. Nagging.
Nagging? What did you say?
Complaining.
Complaining too much? Good. Okay, you guys got it. Okay. I'm going to go through some of them according to research. You tell me if this is a men's complaint or a woman. You never listen to me.
Women.
Women. You never help around the house.
Women. Women.
You're always trying to change me.
Men.
Men. You're letting yourself go. Well, okay. You don't spend enough time with me.
Women.
We never go anywhere anymore.
Women.
You're nagging me to death.
Men.
You blame me for everything. You guys got it right on. Okay. Right on. You could have written the research books. If we look at these 4 disconnects that women are saying and that men are saying, and this is what you all basically got right before that you offered yourselves. If we look at those 4 disconnects, women are basically saying, before we got married, I was your whole world. I was everything to you. You just constantly were thinking about me, doing everything for me. You chased after me. You were trying to make me happy. And now that we're married, I feel like a piece of old furniture. Something that you use, but don't really appreciate. You take for granted. What are men saying? Men are usually actually saying, before we got married, I was your Prince Charming. Everything I did was wonderful, was amazing. Now, I can't do anything right. Everything I do is wrong. Everything I do, you criticize. And if we go back to the very first lines in the Torah, because everything's in the Torah, all the secrets of relationships, all the secrets of how to be, everything is there. So in the very first pages of the Torah, we have exactly that. God is teaching us, He's imprinting in there how we should be, men and women, towards each other. What do we see? We see first 6 days of creation, tremendous things, one after another are being created. Wow, this amazing world. And finally, day number 6, man is created. Adam. He looks around him and he sees everything. Amazing. And you know what? He doesn't even have to share it with anybody because it's all for him. No one else is there yet. And what does God say? What does God say to this man? That's supposed to be the pinnacle of creation. God looks at him and He says, not good. This creation that I created, it's not good. It's not good alone. I need to make for him woman. What is God telling man in those first few moments of creation? He's saying, listen, you could have everything. You can have a career, you can have power, you can have success, you can have money, you can have everything. It's all there for you. And you know what? You're nothing. Nothing without her. So treat her with the respect that she deserves. Make her the center of your world. Because that is what women want, to be the center. To be treated with that love and affection and caring. And what does God say to women? It says when God created woman, He created her from man, and He made her what the Torah calls Ezer Kenegdo, a helpmate against him. Woman is supposed to help him, to build him up. She was built from him, but she's supposed to build him up. Many of us, I don't know about you ladies, but I know many of us, as women, we could be very judgmental. We'll look at something and we'll say, wow, we could change it around, we could develop it. I'm sure when Chani looked at this room, it was bare, and she's like, oh, I'll put the lights here, and I'll put the color here, and I'll do this, and wow, what I can make out of it, right? We do that. We come into a place and we say, change this, change that, and then wow, what we could create. And sometimes we do that with the people that we're in a relationship with. I could just change this, and change that, and change that, and then look what we'll have. So we tend to criticize. And this is what God is telling us in the first pages of Genesis, of Bereshit. Build him up. Be his best cheerleader. That's what he needs from you. The more you build him up, the more he'll be, rather than putting him down. Now this is very nice in theory, but often in practice, things don't come out exactly how we intended. Because men and women, we tend to communicate differently, even when we're trying to understand him. And even when he's trying to understand me, we're communicating in such different languages that we're not understanding each other. Let's go through a few. What woman says and what she means. The woman says, are you listening to me? What does she mean? If I'm asking you if you're listening, she means too late, you're doomed. Of course you're not listening. If I'm asking you if you're listening, you better watch out. She says, I'm not yelling. What does she mean? She's screaming. She means, yes I am. Of course I'm yelling. I think this is important. He asks, what's wrong? She says, nothing. She means everything. She says, do I look fat? dangerous one, right? What does she need?
Am I pretty? Even if I am, just tell me.
Tell me I'm beautiful. I need some encouragement right now. I need to feel good about what I'm feeling. So tell me I'm beautiful. She wonders, why doesn't he communicate his feelings more openly? He's thinking, why must she analyze everything I say or do? I didn't mean anything. I didn't mean anything. I wasn't thinking anything. I wasn't feeling anything. But she already has this whole thought in her head about what I'm thinking. She wonders, why can't he be more in tune with my feelings? He wonders. Huh? Am I supposed to be a mind reader? How am I supposed to know what she's feeling? So we try, but we're so different in how we speak and communicate. And I just have to say one little thing here. I am stereotyping. In case any of you have different kinds of relationships where the wife is more the man and the man is more the woman, that's okay. We're stereotyping. And we're stereotyping because generally, the reason why stereotypes are there is because they generally are. When we say that men are generally taller than women, we don't mean every man is taller than every woman, but we mean in general. So if you see that in your relationship it's a little different, your dance is a little different, that's okay. The point here is just to understand the dance of a relationship, how a relationship works. One person is this way, one person is that way, and how is it working together? So, one of the reasons why things are the way they are in terms of how men and women communicate and how we react to each other is again hidden in the very first verses of Bereshit. Embedded in the wording there, if we look closely, we'll find the secret of why men are the way they are and why women are the way they are. So I want you to turn just to the second page on your sheets. And we have there something from Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. And if you look very closely at these two chapters, you'll see the whole creation is created, and then finally man is created. This man, this first Adam, was this androgynous being with masculine and feminine qualities, but basically he was man. And this is what God says to him when he's created. Does someone want to read? No one wants to read? Thanks.
Where are you reading?
We're on the top of the second page by Genesis chapter 1, Conqueror.
Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the sky, and over all the beasts that tread upon the earth.
Okay, that's when we have the first man, Adam, created. God's telling him, go out there, conquer the world, make order in the creation, beat the earth until the fruit comes out, create order and a hierarchy in creation. In chapter 2 is when God actually forms Chava. He creates her, he forms her into her own separate, independent being. And when we look at what God says to her then, it's very different. The wording is very different. Let's look inside there. Could you read that, please? Go ahead.
Sure. Nurturer. And God planted a garden in Eden from the east. Now God took the man, and he placed them in the Garden of Eden to keep it and to guard it.
So if we look at the difference, it's very different between chapter 1 and chapter 2. Chapter 1 is addressing man. And God is saying to man, be the conqueror. Go out there. Make sure you create order, hierarchy in creation. Get there, do what you need to do. Chapter 2, God is addressing women. And here he talks about creating a home, guarding the home, being a nurturer, having a vision of redemption there, creating this beautiful, warm abode. Man is the natural conqueror. Woman is the natural nurturer. And we're going to see how this affects the way we react in so many situations. When a person is trying to get to a destination, let's say you're trying to get from point A to point B, there's really two ways that you can go about doing it. You can go from point A to point B in a straight line, and you'll get there as fast as you can. Or if you're trying to get from point A to point B, you can go in a circle. And it will take you a lot longer to get there, but you'll make a lot more points of connection along the way. Man is the line, woman is the circle. And if you look biologically, we're like that, emotionally we're like that, spiritually we're like that. If you look at a wedding, we have a lot of imagery of the circle and the line. We have the chuppah, which is the circle. We have the bride putting out her finger, and the groom putting his ring on it, the circle, and the ring, the line versus the circle that he puts on it. We have the ketubah, which is a piece of paper that is rolled into a circle, right? So we have the imagery of a circle and a line constantly in a wedding because we're signifying the man and the woman, the circle and the line coming together. Let's talk a little about this on a practical level. We have a couple, we'll call them Barry and Sarah. Barry and Sarah are going on a long drive, and they're trying to reach a certain destination. They get into the car, they're all ready, they start the drive, they're off on the drive for a while, they've been driving for quite a while, and Sarah turns to Barry and she says, you know, there's a rest area just up ahead. Would you maybe want to stop for a cup of coffee or a cold drink? And Barry says, no, just as he drives past the rest area. For the next few minutes in the car, there is a deathly silence. It takes Barry a few minutes to realize that there is this silence. But when he finally realizes, he reviews in his mind the last conversation, lines of conversation between them. She asked if I want to stop at the rest area for a coffee. I said no. What did I do wrong? Now, every woman in this room knows that when Sarah asked Barry, do you want to stop for a cup of coffee? She was really saying,
Stop for coffee.
I want a cup of coffee, so stop. Every Barry, thank you, that's okay, thanks. Cup of coffee, so she knows. Every woman knows, right?
Connie is a cup of coffee.
Every man who's not in the room wonders, though, if Sarah wanted a cup of coffee, why did she ask? Why did she just say, I would have been happy to stop for her for the cup of coffee if she would have only asked. But every woman in this room knows that Sarah didn't ask because she wanted to give Barry the opportunity to think, to nurture her, to do what she constantly does in her day-to-day life, which is nurture everybody around her, take care of everybody around her. She's giving him the opportunity to care for her, to nurture her. But Barry doesn't see it that way. The reason why Barry doesn't see it that way is because Barry's the line. He's trying to get from his destination to where he's trying to get to as fast as he can. He's the conqueror. He's trying to get there in as little time as possible. Sarah, on the other hand, is the circle. She's into nurturing. She's into experience. She's into making connections along the way, rather than trying to get there as fast as possible. Every woman knows that when a man is lost and he's driving all around, there's no way that he's going to stop to ask for directions. Like, no way. Why is that? Why do women immediately roll down their window to ask for directions? Like, of course. Or stop at a gas station to ask someone. But a man will never. Why?
Right.
Huh? Because he's the conqueror. To him to say, I need to stop for directions, means I'm a failure. I didn't get to where I wanted to get as fast as I could. I had to ask somebody. When a woman stops to ask for directions, what is she doing? She's allowing people to nurture her, what she constantly is doing in her day-to-day. Of course, I'm always helping people. I'm happy to help people. Why wouldn't I stop to ask people for directions? The circle and the line constantly comes out to play in our interactions. I'll give you another example. Mary and Sarah are getting ready to go to an evening out, and they're late. They're supposed to be at this reception by 8 o'clock. It's way past 8 o'clock, and they're late. And Barry's pacing the floor downstairs, waiting for Sarah. He's like, Sarah, are you ready yet? And she's like, yeah, just another minute. I'm just putting on the last touches of her makeup. Okay, finally she comes down, and she turns to Barry, and she says, so, how do I look? And Barry says,
Beautiful, let's go,
let's go! Exactly. What's Barry doing? He's being the conqueror that we spoke about, the conqueror in duration. He's trying to get to his destination, trying to get them to their destination as fast as he can. He knows we're late already. Let's go. What's Sarah doing? She's creating the home that we're talking about, the nurturance, the environment, the warmth, that ability to have that home. You know, when we talk about scientifically, in every single way, we see this constantly at work. If you ask a man, after let's say a wedding or something, what color were the napkins? Were the tablecloths? First of all, he'll never know, right? If he does know, he'll name 4 colors. If you say to a man, what are 4 colors? What will he say? Red, blue, yellow, green. Basic primary colors. Ask a woman to name you colors, and you'll hear things like mauve, aqua, mustard, burnt yellow, citron, okay? And there's actually scientifically reasons why we do that, because in the retina of men, they have fewer cone-shaped cells that looks at color, so they don't see the variations that we see. Women see those variations. We're that circle. We see all those variations. Any of you have children? Did your children ever say, Mom has eyes in the back of her head? They're sure. Mom has eyes in the back of her head, right? Kids ever say that? Mom knows everything. Do they ever say that about Dad? No. Why? Because women, actually, scientifically, when a woman, her eyes have greater peripheral vision. We can almost see 90 degrees around ourselves. A man has larger eyes with tunnel vision. It could see for longer distances. Circle versus the line. Have you ever had this tapping, tap, 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 like a dripping faucet in your house? Any of you ever had that? Okay, usually it's the woman who hears the faucet, and it drives her crazy. It's the man who finds which faucet is the one that's actually dripping. Circle versus the line. When a woman uses communication, we use communication to build rapport, to create relationships. That's how we create relationships. When a man uses communication, he uses concise language to get the upper hand. You ever hear of this joke where the man goes over to his wife and says, you know, I'm missing my shirts. Did you happen to see my shirts? And she says, huh? Now you're talking to me? He says, what do you mean? She says, for the last 4 days, we weren't talking to each other. And he says, what are you talking about? I thought we were just getting along. Women and men, we use communication so differently. A woman will often give the silent treatment. Ever hear of the silent treatment? What does that mean when we give the silent treatment? It means we're angry at somebody, so we withhold our communication. Men don't give the silent treatment because we use communication as a means to communicate. We use words as a means to communicate and to build relationships, to thrive in those relationships. It's interesting, when a woman talks, the blood is flowing into her brain, and it's flowing into her entire brain. When a man talks, it's flowing into just parts of his brain. This is all true, okay? In a resting state, okay, we're talking about a resting state for both men and women. In a resting state, when we're both sitting and resting and not concentrating on anything, even sleeping. What percentage of men's brain do you think is inactive? You're sleeping, you're resting. 90% is inactive. In a resting state in a woman's brain, 90% is active. We're constantly thinking about things. And that's why you lay down at night, you put your head down on the pillow. The man puts his head down on the pillow and that's it. He's out cold, right? The woman puts her head down on the pillow. She's thinking all about what happened during the day, what she should do tomorrow, what this child needs, what that child needs, what this friend's gonna need, all the things that she has to take care of. Her mind is constantly going and going and going. Ask a man at the end of the day, so dear, how was your day? And he'll say, okay, fine. Ask a woman at the end of the day, so how was your day? You'll hear everything about the children, about your sister, about your cousin who's coming to visit, about the cousin's child who just broke his leg, everything about anything. Because that's how we use communication, to build relationships. So what do we do about this? On a practical level, for men and women, if you're looking to discuss something with your significant other or that person in a relationship with you, first of all, plan the time. The minute he comes in from the end of the day of work, he doesn't want to hear about all these issues. Plan a time to discuss it. When you do discuss it, use points. Do point systems. Very short, succinct things that you want to say, and afterwards you can elaborate on it. Afterwards you can get into the details. But what you'll hear first is those points. So put points in your head. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points that you want to say succinctly, and that way he'll hear about it. You can also explain to him that this way of conquering, he's trying to conquer you. The way he can conquer you is just by listening. If he understands that just by listening, just by hearing, just by relating to what you're saying, he's conquered you. That suddenly puts the whole picture in a completely new perspective. Oh, if I could just sit and that way I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Great. But this has to be explained. So this brings us really to the third part, which is a system that Judaism puts into place called Taharat HaMishpacha, the system of family laws. Because men and women are so different, because we react so differently, because we are programmed to be so different, the Torah puts in place a system of laws, a system of being that helps us incorporate who we are, and what we do, and how we can better effectively communicate and develop our relationship. In a nutshell, and this is really in a nutshell, what the system of family purity is that when a woman has her period, and for 7 days thereafter, she physically separates from her husband. So there's no intimate relationships in terms of sexual relationships and touching. After the 7 days, the woman goes into a mikvah, which is a beautiful, how many of you were in a mikvah? Know what is seen a mikvah? It's a beautiful spa-like facility. It's really, I'm sure here it's gorgeous. If I could see the rest of the building, I'm sure it's more than beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful place where a woman can really have those few moments of time to completely be absorbed, to concentrate and become in tune with herself. She then comes out of the mikvah, spiritually revitalized, and the relationship resumes between her husband and wife. And I want to go through a few benefits of this system. Any of you know what is the #1 cause of divorce? Money. It's a good one. What else?
Intimacy.
Huh?
Intimacy.
Being unfaithful. Good. Intimacy. Good. Anything else?
Sorry. That's it.
That's it. actually the number one cause for divorce is marriage. You can't get divorced if you're not married, right? Okay? There's truth in the joke. It's marriage that causes divorce because we get so used to one another. We stop appreciating each other. We stop looking at each other and seeing into your eyes, into your hearts, into that starry eye that we once felt. We stop feeling it. If we turn to the third page, there's a beautiful quote there. It's from the Talmud. Who wants to read it? Sexuality is a mighty river.
Sexuality is a mighty river. If harnessed, it can bring irrigation and energy. If unharnessed, it brings floods and destruction.
So Judaism sees sexuality in that way. It does not see sexuality as a negative thing, an evil thing like Christianity does, as a necessary evil. It does see sexuality as something beautiful, in the right context, in the right place, something extremely powerful, but it has to be done in the right way, in the right context, in order to actually harness that power. The system of family purity that I outlined very, very briefly has a few extreme benefits. Number one, boredom. And let's read, this is actually a quote from a secular magazine about what is the cause of couples coming apart.
It is the loss of affection, not the emergence of interpersonal issues that sets couples on the path toward divorce. Couples who remained happily married showed less ambivalence, expressed negative feelings less often, and viewed their mate more positively than other couples. Most importantly, these feelings remain stable over time.
So it's the constant little things that you do for one another, and it's the boredom that you feel in a relationship that just causes you to get apart. What this system of family purity does is it stops you from getting this boredom. The night of your mikvah night is like the night of a newlywed. Because you've been apart for so long, that attraction is so much more magnetic. How many of you looked at your house this morning and looked into your fridge and said, wow, I have an apple there. Amazing. Or wow, I have some water there. Running water, amazing. None of us do that, right? How many of you look at this gorgeous view during the day, every single day, and say, wow, this is stunning. Unfortunately, we get used to things. And the more we get used to things, the less we appreciate it. So you can have the most beautiful, beautiful thing. If you're constantly seeing it, you don't appreciate it, you don't value it. When you hold yourself back, which is what mikvah does, that both the husband and wife hold themselves back, they restrain themselves from physical interaction with each other, it creates a desire that you didn't even know is there, so that the boredom is no longer there. The second thing that it also gives us is the value of restraint. And this, if you look on your papers, you'll see, so this was a study that I found very interesting. It was about what women want most in a man and what men want most in a woman. And what I found so interesting was the number one thing, there's a lot of different interesting things there, but the number one thing that both of them wanted was a faithful partner. You want someone who's going to be faithful to you. You might want a lot of other things, but number one, you want someone who's going to be faithful for you. When a couple shows restraint within their relationship, they're building the muscles to show restraint outside of the relationship. In other words, when they're showing restraint inside the relationship, that any urge that they want or any urge that they want to satisfy is held. Hold on, we're going to keep it for the right time. That's building their muscles of restraint so that they can show that restraint in other situations outside of the relationship. The third thing that it also gives is value of space. If you look at the quotes there's amazing quotes. This was from Newsweek magazine, and it was about sexless marriages. Let's just read one of the quotes because I found it so powerful when I read this. And it was really on the cover of Newsweek magazine a couple of years back, all about the prevalence of sexless marriages, how people are married and they're just never having sex with each other. And this was the reason why. Do you want to read? Let's just see the quote in Newsweek magazine. Maddie often went to bed before her husband. No? Someone else have it?
Maddie often went to bed before her husband and was asleep by the time he joined her. This once steamy love life slowly cooled. She would say she was too beat. Roger tried to be romantic to set the mood. It was just the feeling that I had to give something I didn't have.
A lot of women seem to feel that way, especially women who have young children, women who have careers. They're constantly being pulled in so many different directions, and finally they just say, like, leave me alone, I want just the space to be me, just the space for myself. Mikvah does that. It's very in tune with the natural rhythm of the woman's body, with her natural ebb and flow of desire, and it gives her that natural space of time when she doesn't want that touch, when she doesn't want that person near her physically. It gives her that space. You know, so often in relationships, especially as women, we tend to lose ourselves. We lose ourselves in our spouse, we lose ourselves in our children. You know, when we read at the beginning, one of the complaints that, one of the disconnects that men said is you're letting yourself go. And I found that interesting. What I found so interesting was I don't think men are only saying you're not looking as pretty as you looked, 20 years ago. I think what they're saying is 20 years ago, or whenever it is ago, when we just met, you knew how to ask for what you wanted. You knew what you wanted. You weren't always sacrificing for this one, for that one, for everybody like women do. You knew what you wanted. You knew how to ask for that cup of coffee when you wanted it. And somehow with time, you just there is no you anymore. You is everybody around you. All your needs, all the people that you're catering to, your elderly parents, your children, the grandchildren, everything around you, your career, your friends, everything is pulling at you. The system of family purity gives a woman that sense of self, that time to be herself, that time for herself, that time that she needs to just be me. And then she's ready to give so much, and she wants to give so much. The next thing is, it gives a woman, sensuality becomes sacred. The relationship takes sexuality out of the realm of just the mundane and introduces something divine in it. Something special, that it's not just me and him, our own personal wants, but you're actually inviting God into your relationship. It's interesting, the Kohen Gadol were right before Yom Kippur. The Kohen Gadol in Yom Kippur would enter the Holy of Holies, the holiest place in the temple. And it was there that he prayed for the Jewish people. Before he went into this special room, of course the whole week before he would learn and study so much of the Torah, but right before, on the day of Yom Kippur, he went into the mikvah. 7 times he immersed in that mikvah. Because the mikvah has that spiritual power where you're immersing in water, which is pre-creation. You're connecting with the womb of who you were, of that womb of your original self, with that original spirituality that isn't touched by the whole world. You're connecting with it, and you're touching it, and you're touching the divine. So this is a system of life that, number one, we live in highly sexualized times. If you look at ads, everything that needs to be sold, there's a woman who's selling it through sexually explicit material. Pornography is rampant. Premarital sex is all over the place. We live in a highly sexualized times. And the answer that people give is more exploration, more adventure. And really the Torah is saying, no, it's the opposite. Hold back. Hold back. And then you'll appreciate. Because the more you try to explore and do crazy and crazy and crazier things, the more you'll want. You'll never be satisfied. What is the answer to it? To hold back. And then you'll appreciate. Then you look at your fridge, and after Yom Kippur, every drink that you take is, wow, this is good. Every piece of food that you take, wow, this is amazing. So this is a system that respects women in today's society, which is so disrespectful for women. It's in tune with the natural rhythm of the ebb and flow of what a woman wants and respects her space and her need for that space. And it makes marriage and our connections and our relationship a priority. Because sometimes people will say to me, like, how is it you're making, like, you're scheduling the time to be together? But look on your calendars. All the things that are important to us, we schedule in. If you need an appointment with a specialist, or you need an appointment for this or that, the most important things in your schedule, in your life, you will schedule it in. And yet marriage somehow goes by the wayside. So this makes marriage a huge priority. I want to just conclude with a story. And this is a story that took place in the time of the prophets. There was a woman who lost her husband. Her husband died, and she had 2 children, and she was in a very difficult financial situation. So much so that the creditors who she owed money to wanted to take her sons as slaves to pay back her debts. She was despondent, she didn't know what to do, so she went to the prophet Elisha at the time, and she said to him, what am I supposed to do? My husband was a great man, he passed away, we're in dire financial straits, what should I do? And he says, hold on, tell me, what do you have in your home? She said, my home? I just told you, there's nothing, I have nothing, everything was sold already, there's nothing there. He says, think again, what do you have in your home? She says, the only thing I have in my house is one small jar. One little jar of oil. That's it. He says, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go to all your neighbors and borrow vessels, pots, pans, containers, whatever containers you can get a hold of, as many as you can get a hold of, borrow vessels as much as you can and bring it into your home. Then pour from the container of oil, that little cruse of oil. She does that. She borrows lots and lots of vessels. She puts it all over her counters. And she starts pouring from the container of oil. And it pours, and it pours, and it pours. And it keeps pouring until she fills every single last container that she borrowed from her neighbors. And when she finishes filling every single container, she says to her sons, what else is there to pour into? And they say, that's it, there's no more. And that's when the oil stopped pouring. The prophet tells her, take all the oil that you just have, sell it with the money that you make on the oil, pay off your creditors, and you'll have enough money to live for the rest of your life. This is an actual beautiful miracle that actually took place in the time of the prophets, and it's recorded. But it's also a metaphor for each and every one of us. There are times in our lives that we feel completely poverty-stricken. We feel like our life is worthless. We're so enslaved by the busyness of life. We feel that there's no connection, there's no me. I feel like I'm dead. There's no real me. I'm not connected to that real me. And we call out to our spiritual mentor, to our inner self. We call out and we say, I feel like I'm dead. And we're told, no, you're not dead. You're not dead. Your relationship isn't dead. You feel like your relationship is completely over, it's gone, it's finished. There's no love, there's no spark. It's not dead. If you were dead, if your relationship was really dead, you would feel the pain. The fact that you're feeling pained means that you're alive, very much alive. So what should you do? The prophet tells us, what should you do? Go out and borrow vessels. Vessels are deeds, what we do. Go out and borrow good deeds, meaning go out and do good deeds. Schedule your day to be full of good deeds. At first it will feel borrowed. Me doing that? I don't feel like doing that. Come on, that's not really me. Or say a nice word to my husband, really? I feel like strangling him. I should say a nice word. Do good deeds. They're borrowed at first, you feel like a hypocrite at first, but do those deeds, even if they're borrowed deeds. Because when the oil of inspiration wants to surface, there are times in our lives when our soul wants to come out. It wants to express itself. We want to feel in tune with it. There are times in our lives when our relationship wants to be reignited. But if there are no vessels for the oil of inspiration to be poured in, it has nowhere to go. There's nowhere to put it. If there's deeds in your life, if your schedule is filled with meaningful deeds, if your relationship is filled with borrowed deeds, kind things throughout the day, kind deeds throughout the week that you do for each other, even if they're borrowed, even if they're hypocritical, when that little spark is ignited, when that oil of inspiration starts pouring, it will have what to fill. I wish you all a very meaningful Yom Kippur. I wish you all a very meaningful and happy year. I wish you all that your relationships should go in a positive direction and that spark of inspiration should have the vessels to actually fill. If you do want to know more about the mikvah, if you want to know more, because we went through very, very briefly the whole idea of mikvah, if you do want to know more details about it, how to do it, how to incorporate this system into your life to have a better relationship in your life, you can learn some more from the Rebbitzin. There's also an online recordist resource that you can have. You can be in touch with the Rebbitzin and she'll tell you about it from Mikvah USA that you can learn from. Or we can organize classes for me and you that we can learn as well together. But the point is to reignite our relationship, make our relationship a priority, make our connection with the greatest relationship we have with God a priority, and have a year where we're doing lots and lots of good deeds, even borrowed deeds, that cause the inspiration to flow. Thank you.
Chana, words that come from the heart go to the heart. If anybody has any questions for Chana, we'll take that in a moment. We spoke, I think, lots and lots of vessels that will help us live our spiritual relationships in our lives as we go on. We have with us for a moment the woman that sponsored these, and she asked a permission. I can't say no to such an important cause. If Dr. assured that they can come up for a moment to speak about physical, just as important as spiritual health as physical health, and she asked if she can come up for a moment. If you have any questions for Chana, meanwhile, she'll take a couple of them right after Dr. assured that detail is done. So, do you want to come up, Julie?
First of all, thank you so much for such a beautiful lecture. I think we could all take something away from it. I was not prepared today, but I'm more than happy to speak about breast care and getting your mammograms once a year. Everybody knows once a year you have to, everybody knows once a year you have to get a mammogram. Whether they do it or not is another story. Just some reasons to get a mammogram. There's a reason that we check for things. We don't go around looking for lung cancer, or we don't go around looking for brain cancer. It's a cancer that can be detected early and has a great treatment. So that's why it's mass screening. That's one of the reasons. So please don't be scared of doing it. I think you should be scared not doing it. I see a lot of people, why did you get a mammogram? I'm too scared, I don't want to know. But believe it or not, if you know, that's your first step to treatment. We live on Long Island, that's another reason. Most of the women here are Sfard, but Ashkenazi women are very high risk. You get the results same day. You don't have to go home and wonder, is it something suspicious? You'll know usually right then and there. You'll get your exam. The doctor will come in and give you an answer right away. an ounce of a prevention is a pound of a cure. So a little bit by you, and it's going to give you big results. Believe it or not, I was asked like 5 minutes ago to speak about it, and just today, I had a patient just today that came in with confusion, headaches. She got a scan. She already has brain mets. What we usually do is look to see is there cancer anywhere else. She happens to have a left breast lesion. We don't know if it's connected. She never had a mammogram. I think she was 55, 56 years old. Why did you not check? She shrugged her shoulders. Okay. Don't be the statistic. Please get it done. If you have any questions, where to go, how to do it, if you have no insurance, believe it or not, there are incentives for insurance companies to check for you with no charge, because once, God forbid, something happens, it's astronomical, the cost. So there's a lot of places to go if you want to get it done, so that's not an issue. That's basically all I have to say.
What age?
Oh, 40. 40, unless you're high risk, you have family members, or you feel something, usually it's 40. 40 years old.
Also point out, we know many people that have been diagnosed and have taken care of it and have, thank God, okay, and it's not, God forbid, a sentence of, you know, oh no, what's going to be. You just got to get in there and got to do it. And I couldn't say no when I was asked if somebody could say a couple of words.
Yeah. One more thing. This is the way I like to do it, and it works for me. Every November, for example, that's your month. You get your teeth cleaning, you get your mammograms, you get your pap smear. That's your month. That's when you take care of it. And this way, you don't think, oh, when was it done? When was it not done? This is the month. You take care of it. Anyway, all the best. Shana Tova, only good news.
Thank you. Ladies, I want to wish you a refuah shlema, b'lev, b'nefesh, b'guf, your hearts, your souls, your body. We should all have an easy fast, but much, much more important, an easy and beautiful year in every single way. Shana Tova, Shana Tova. Question? Anybody have a question for Chana? You're welcome to stand up and move around. If anyone has a question for Chana Wisberg, this is your time. You can ask her personally, or you should get come up. What?
It's already ended.
Where it is for people that order, you have it. I don't know if it's available for